Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Cosmic Culture, the channel where we talk about all major movie and television news, theories, breakdowns, and much more. I'm your host, Chris, and today we're going to be talking about The Eternals. Now, The Eternals just came out last night, and it is already killing it in the box office, especially for these COVID times. I believe ranking third in the highest grossing over the first night for the year. So some pretty impressive numbers, especially following some pretty negative comments coming from the critics. Now, we'll talk about critic scores, audience scores, and so much more in this video, but to let you know what the idea is, I'm going to start the first half of the video with my spoiler-free review. So no need to worry about any spoilers, and I will give you a warning when I'm going to start talking about an ending explained video and my overall thoughts with some more spoilers and plot details in there as well. So if you're interested in that or you've seen the movie, stick till the very end. If you don't want any spoilers, look out for that warning and I'll give you a little bit of time to click away. For now, let's start with the spoiler-free review and my overall thoughts on this film. Before we get into that, I have to congratulate Harrison Coxon for winning the giveaway for this super cool Spider-Man action figure collectible that Cosmic Wonder and myself have been doing a giveaway for. Super congratulations to him, he's already been contacted. However, we are starting another giveaway and I will give you some information and details on that after the video. Now, The Eternals obviously started off with a little bit of a bad rep, getting a high 50s score on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics. Now, that is very low. In fact, the lowest that any Marvel movie has ever gotten in any score from Rotten Tomatoes ever. That's pretty low and was very surprising. Keep in mind, Marvel Studios was planning on doing something a little different with this film, leaving the norm and the idea and the function of how everything already works to make these crazy cool films. And it seems like the critics overall weren't huge fans of that change. But these are the same critics who have been saying that if Marvel doesn't change the formula, leave these fast-paced action CGI fighting movies, that they're going to disappear. So I'm not sure what they were hoping for, because in my opinion, the changes that they made, the risks that they took with this different tone of MCU film, they all executed them perfectly. Now, if you're grading this film on whether or not it has the best action sequences or the coolest CGI effects and fighting flipping backwards laser beam, then it doesn't compare. However, if you look at what Kevin Feige, what Marvel Studios and Disney were trying to do with this film, by unpacking something different, new, and beautiful, they executed perfectly. Now, it's possible you're not interested in that kind of film, a kind of film that has deep lore and new characters and explanations of different beings, races, gods, changing our understanding of a lot of different facts about the MCU and Earth within everything we've known up to this point. So it is a lot to unpack in just under a 3-hour-long movie, and if that's not something you're ready to deal with, if you want simplicity in Marvel movies like explosions, fighting sequences, and a lot of cool superheroes that you're familiar with, then Eternals won't be for you. But if you're in the MCU for the long ride, if you're starting Phase 4 seeing that Marvel's taking a different approach on what they've done in the past, showing us different universes, multiverses, characters, creatures, and opportunities, then The Eternals has a lot for you to get excited about, as it does introduce not only an entire new group of superheroes, but an entire new race, an entire new group of gods, and this understanding of what actually is happening in the main MCU timeline that will blow your mind. After everything is said and done, 2 hours into the movie, you get a 45-minute long-ish sequence of some pretty incredible fighting from an array of different characters, all with incredible actors, and each specific abilities that they highlight very well. And then on top of that, other characters introduced, a huge plot-turning moment, and a decision that has to be made. All of it really captivating and giving me an experience that I thought was, one, very fun to watch, emotionally connected me to the film, to the characters, and to the story, and entertained me, which I think is the most important part of any film. Keep in mind though, as I've said, it is a different formula and a different approach that before we haven't seen Marvel do. I agree that different isn't always better, but I also agree that in this instance, Marvel did a great job providing something different and executing that difference very well. So overall, I'm going to give this movie in the Marvel Studios realm of movies a B-, just because it's hard to compare these films to things like Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, the original Avengers. These movies have a precedence that is going to be hard to beat because they have different films backing them up, whereas Eternals, again, much like with Shang-Chi, is an origin film, introducing new characters and trying to create a hype and excitement for a fan base that might not be as familiar with what these characters do, all the while introducing a new storyline in several different directions, which we'll talk about in just a second. And that brings us to my spoiler warning. We're going to go into an ending explained. I'm going to try to sum up the movie for you very quickly here, but if you're not interested in that, haven't seen the movie yet, go ahead and click away and come back and check out afterwards and let me know what you thought of the film. But let's talk about Eternals. Now, this movie, in a nutshell, is a new group of characters who have been living on Earth for thousands and thousands of years, with instructions from their leaders, the Celestials, to not get involved whatsoever with the humans, to let them grow and develop on their own, and protect them from the Deviants. We find out that the Deviants were actually also failed creations of the Celestials, and the Eternals took their place, and the Eternals exist to stop the Deviants from stopping any progression on the planet where they're residing, which in this case is planet Earth. Later on in the film, however, we find out what the Convergence is, which we heard about in the trailer, but didn't actually have any idea as to what it was. Turns out the Convergence is the birthing process of a Celestial who is put into the core of different planets across the galaxy, and when the time comes that the planet has enough population, energy, and power, the Celestial will harness that energy and birth itself out of the Earth, destroying that planet and everybody on it. The Eternals find out that this has been a process that they have been part of for millions of years on several different planets, and that their memory is wiped every time, and it doesn't sit so well with a lot of them, especially Cersei, who has fallen in love with Earth, people on Earth, and the entire idea of life and the opportunity that it brings. So she and a few of the other Eternals decide they're going to stop the Convergence, the birth of the Celestial, from happening, and they're going to save the planet. Interesting idea. However, some of the Eternals don't feel so good about that. They were created by the Celestials to make this happen, and it is their job to honor their duty. So at the very end of the movie, we get this very visually stimulating fight where we see some of the Eternals taking on some of the others, fighting to stop the birth of this specific Eternal. All the while, the Eternal is birthing and creating himself out from the core of the Earth, ripping it to shreds and causing the destruction of the planet. And there's a super deviant there as well, trying to kill and suck up the powers of all the Eternals at the same time. So a lot happening, each Eternal with their own powers, creating a super fun visual effect, fighting, technique. Like I mentioned already, the actors all fantastically selected, as Marvel always does, and the entire closing fighting sequence, very well done, and very action-packed, contrary to what many other critics may have said. I will agree, the original first 2 hours, although there are moments of really cool action sequences, are a little slower paced, but it is unpacking a ton of lore, explanations, storylines, and reorganizing our understanding of what the planet Earth is, since essentially a huge incubation station for a Celestial. During this ending fight sequence, they end up defeating the Super Deviant, stopping the other Eternals from creating the birth of the Celestial, and killing the Celestial. Now, with the death of the Celestial comes the great Aroshim, who is aware of what the Eternals did, and he says, "I see what you have done. You've chosen to kill a Celestial, so I'm going to take you guys, look at your memories, and see if what you've learned from the last 7,000 years is worth keeping this planet alive. And if I decide it's not, I'm going to come back and destroy it." Now, he didn't manage to take all of the Celestials because a fair amount of them actually left in their spacecraft to go find other Eternals and inform them of what exactly is going on. We'll get back to that moment in just a second. Meanwhile, however, the Earth is still sitting with a huge cliffhanger of Aroshim, an insanely cool looking and crazy intimidating Celestial, returning and placing judgment over the people. And that certainly means imminent death for the entire planet and everybody on it, which will be a very interesting storyline moving forward. Now, at the very end of the movie, of course, we get 2 post-credit scenes, which put us in a ton of different directions. So let's talk about those real quick. The first one is, after we've seen the Celestials leave, we find out that they're off trying to find new Eternals. All the while, they haven't gotten any communication with their fellow Eternals on the planet Earth, and they start to fear something is wrong. They not knowing that Aroshim actually came and took them away to find out whether or not he needs to destroy the planet Earth. While this is going on, this conversation, their ship is boarded by none other than Star Fox, who is confirmed to be the brother of Thanos and Harry Styles. This shows us that there is going to be a very cool and complicated story moving forward with the Eternals who have broken free of this pattern of culminating Earths and destroying them for the birth of Celestials, and any group of them that has found out that this is inappropriate, wrong, not what they need to be doing, will try to gather up together, maybe to fight the Celestials and to break the chains of this crazy pattern. Now this without a doubt is going to have some mega crazy issues, and we're going to have to see how that all turns out in any future films, Eternals 2 or Star Fox the movie, lots of different cool options there. Now there's another path, of course, the third path, which was that of Dane Whitman, who was introduced to be Cersei's love interest in the film. But of course he had a secret as well, and that was that of his heritage, his past, and the Ebony Blade. Dane Whitman in the comics is none other than Black Knight, and we see a very slight introduction to this as he goes and makes the decision to interact with the Ebony Blade, which will no doubtably give him the powers of Black Knight, who we did not see in the film. Right before he picks up the blade, however, in the end credit scene, we hear the voice of somebody who we don't see asking him if he really wants to do that. This voice was later confirmed very recently by the director to be none other than Blade. So we have Dark Knight and Blade running off in one direction, Hiroshima coming back to destroy the planet Earth, which was the original cliffhanger of the film, and then Star Fox hanging out with some of the Eternals, the brother of Thanos, and Pip the Troll there to set us off in yet another direction. This was an origin movie, starting off a crazy new tumbling point in 3 different crazy directions for the MCU. Add on top of that Spider-Man No Way Home, Multiverse of Madness, the inclusion of characters from different universes, Wanda and all of her craziness, and Loki, where the multiverse was literally blown up into millions of different pieces. There is a lot going on in the MCU. I can't wait to see how it all comes together. And yeah, I'll be honest, I'm a little concerned it's getting a little too big. However, I will continue to say in Feige we trust. He hasn't let us down yet, so I have no reason to believe he'll let us down moving forward. That being said, there is a lot to appreciate, not only in just this Eternals film, but in the entire MCU, and I am interested to see how they plan on tying it all together and making the MCU another huge, massive storyline that we're all very excited to follow. Those are my initial thoughts on the film and the ending explained the most simply I can make it. Hopefully that helped you. You got a better understanding of what happened in the Eternals. I am curious and I want to know, what did you guys think? If you've seen the movie, let me know in the comment section down below your opinion, not something you heard from somebody else or a critic, or what you think you appreciated from the movie The Eternals, or what you didn't like about it. Do you think the MCU is headed in a crazy direction, or are you excited for the future? The path has now been laid for us by the Eternals. Let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, I said we had another Spider-Man collectible figurine giveaway, and it will be this awesome figure right here. The rules are the same. All you need to do to enter the giveaway is subscribe to my channel and the Cosmic Wonders channel. Make sure you're commenting in our videos, because that is where we will be finding the random winner. Good luck to you, and thank you all for watching till the very end of the video. I'll see you in the next one right here on Cosmic Culture.